ditched Grover as soon as we got on the bus terminal. I know, it was rude, but Grover was freaking me out and looking at me like I was a dead man, muttering, "Why does this always happen? And why does it always have to be 6th grade?" Whenever he got upset, Grover's bladder acted up, so I wasn't surprised when as soon as we got off the bus, he made me promise to wait for him, then made a beeline for the restroom. Instead of waiting, I got my suitcase, slipped outside, and caught the first taxi uptown. "East 104th and 1st, I told the driver. "I worried about my mother before you meet her. Her name is Sally Jackson, and she's the best person in the world, which just proves my theory that the best people have rotten luck. Her own parents died in a plane crash when she was 5, and she was raised by an uncle who didn't care much about her. She wanted to be a novelist, so she spent high school working on enough money to save for college with a good creative writing program. Then her uncle got cancer and she had to quit school her senior year to take care of him. After he died, she left with no money, no family, and no diploma. The only good break she ever got was meeting my dad. I don't have many memories of him, just this sort of warm glow, maybe the barest trance of his smile. My mom doesn't like to talk about him because it makes her sad. She has no pictures. See, they weren't married. She told me he was rich and important and their relationship was secret. The one day he set sail across the Atlantic on some important journey and never came back. Lost at sea, my mother told me. Not dead, lost at sea. She worked odd jobs and took 9 classes to get her high school diploma, and she raised me on her own. She never complained or got mad, not even once, but I knew I wasn't an easy kid. Finally, she married Gabe Giuliano, who was the first 30 seconds we knew him, then showed his true colors as a world-class jerk. I was young. I nicknamed him Smelly Gabe. I'm sorry, but it's the truth. The guy reeked like moldy garlic pizza wrapped around in gym shorts. Between the two of us, we made my mom's life pretty hard. The way Smelly Gabe treated her, the way he and I got along, well, when I came home is a very good example. I walked into our little apartment hoping my mom would be home from work. Instead, Smelly Gabe was in the living room playing poker with his buddies. The television brand blared ESPN. Chips and beer cans were strewn all over the carpet. Hardly looking up, he said around his cigar, "So, you're home. Where's my mom?" "Working," he said. "You got any cash?" That was it. No welcome back. Good to see you. How has your life been for the last 6 months? Gabe had put on weight. He looked like a tuskless walrus in thrift store clothes. He had about 3 hairs on his head, all combed over his bald scalp, as if that made him something handsome. He managed the electronics megamart in Queens, but stayed home most of the time. I don't know why he hadn't been fired long ago. He just kept on collecting paychecks, spending the money on cigars, made me nauseous, and on beer, of course, always beer. Whenever I was home, he expected me to provide his gambling funds. He called that our guy secret, meaning if I told my mom, he would punch my lights out. "I don't have any cash," I told him. He raised a greasy eyebrow. Gabe could sniff out money like a bloodhound, which was surprising since he couldn't smell since his own smell could have covered up anything else. "You took a taxi from the bus station," he said. "Probably paid with a 20. Got $6 and $7 and change. Somebody expects to live under this roof. He ought to carry his own weight. Am I right, Eddie?" Eddie, the super of the apartment building, looked at me with a twinge of sympathy. "Come on, Gabe," he said. "The kid just got here." "Am I right?" Gabe repeated. Eddie scowled into the bowl of pretzels. The other 2 guys passed gas and harmony. "Fine," I said. I dug a wall of dollars. I dug a wad of dollars out of my pocket and threw the money on the table. I hope you lose. Your report card came, brain boy, he shouted after me. I wouldn't act so snooty. I slammed the door into my room, which really wasn't my room. During school months, it was Gabe's study. He didn't study anything in there except old car magazines. He loved showing my stuff. He loved shoving my stuff in the closet, leaving his muddy boots on my windowsill, and doing his best to make this place smell like nasty cologne and cigars and stale beer. I dropped my suitcase on the bed. Home sweet home. Gabe's smell was almost worse than a nightmare about Mrs. Dodds or the sound of the fruit lady's shears snipping the yarn. But as soon as I thought that, my legs felt weak. I remembered Grover's panicked look. How he'd made me promise I wouldn't go on without him. A sudden chill rolled through me. I felt like someone was watching me, or looking at me right now. Maybe pounding its way up the stairs, growing long, horrible talons. Then I heard my mom's voice. Percy? She opened the bedroom door, and my fears melted. My mother can make me feel good just by walking into the room. Her eyes sparkled and changed color in the light. Her smile as warm as a quilt. She got a few gray streaks mixed with her long brown hair. But I never think of her as old. When she looks at me, it's like she's seen all the good things about me, none of the bad. I've never heard her raise her voice or say unkind words to anyone, not even me or Gabe. Oh, Percy, she hugged me tight. I can't believe it. You've grown since Christmas. Her red, white, and blue Sweet on America uniform smelled like the best things in the world. Chocolate, licorice, and all the other stuff that she sold at the candy shop in the Grand Central. She brought me a huge bag of free samples in the way she always did when I came home. We sat together on the edge of the bed while I attacked a blueberry sour strings. She ran her hand through my hair and demanded to know everything I hadn't put in my letters. She didn't mention anything about my getting expelled. She didn't seem to care about that. But was I okay? Was her little boy doing all right? I told her she was smothering me and to lay off all that, but secretly I was really, really glad to see her. From the other room, Gabe yelled, "Hey, Sally, how about some more bean dip, huh?" I gritted my teeth. My mom is the nicest lady in the world. She should have been married to a millionaire, now some jerk like Gabe. For her sake, I tried to sound upbeat about my last days at Yancey Academy. I told her I wasn't too down about the expulsion. I'd lasted almost the whole year this time. I'd made some new friends, I'd done pretty well in Latin, and honestly, the fights hadn't been as bad as the headmaster said. I liked Yancey Academy, I really did. I put such a good spin on the year, I almost convinced myself. I started choking up, thinking about Grover, Mr. Bruner. Even Nancy Boba Fett suddenly didn't seem so bad, until the trip to the museum. "Why?" my mom asked. Her eyes dug at my conscience, trying to pull out secrets. "Did something scare you?" "No, Mom," I felt bad lying. I wanted to tell her about Mrs. Dodds and the 3 old ladies with the yarn, but I thought it would sound stupid. She pursed her lips. She knew I was holding back, but didn't push me. "I have a surprise for you," she said. "We're going to the beach." My eyes watered. "Montauk? 3 nights, same cabin." "When?" She smiled. "As soon as I get changed." I couldn't believe it. My mom and I hadn't been to Montauk the last 2 summers because Gabe said there wasn't enough money. Gabe appeared in the doorway and growled, "Bean dip, Sally. Didn't you hear me?" I wanted to punch him, but I met my mom's eyes and I understood she was offering me a deal. Be nice to Gabe for a little while, just until she was ready to leave for Montauk. And then we would get out of here. "I was on my way, honey," she told Gabe. "We were just talking about the trip." Gabe's eyes got small. "The trip? You mean you were serious about that?" I knew it, I muttered. "He won't let us go." "Of course he will," my mom said evenly. "Your stepfather is just worried about money, that's all. Besides," she added, "Gabriel won't have to settle for bean dip. I'll make him enough 7-layer dip for the whole weekend, guacamole, sour cream, the works. Gabe softened a bit. So this money for your trip, it comes out of your clothes budget, right? Yes, honey, my mother said. And you won't take my car anywhere there and back? We'll be very careful. Gabe scratched his double chin. Maybe if you hurry with that 7-layer bean dip, maybe if the kid apologizes for ruining my poker game. Maybe if I kicked you in the soft spot, I thought, and made you sing soprano for a week. But my mom's eyes warned me not to make him mad. Why did she put up with this guy? I wanted to scream. Why did she care what he thought? I'm sorry, I muttered. I'm really sorry I interrupted your incredibly important poker game. Please go back to it right now. Gabe's eyes narrowed. His tiny brain probably was trying to detect sarcasm in my statement. Yeah, whatever, he decided. He went back to his game. Thank you, Percy, my mom said. Once we get to Montauk, we'll talk about whatever you've forgotten to tell me, okay? For a moment, I thought I saw anxiety in her eyes, the same fear I'd seen in Grover during the bus ride. As if my mom felt an odd chill in the air, too. But then her smile returned, and I figured I must have mistaken. She ruffled my hair and went back to make Gabe's 7-layer dip. An hour later, we were ready to leave. Gabe took a break from his poker game long enough to watch me lug my mom's bag to the car. He kept gripping and groaning about losing her cookie, and more importantly, his 78 Camaro for the whole weekend. Naughty scratch on this car, brain boy. He warned me as I loaded the last. Not one little scratch. Like I'd be the one driving. I was 12, but that didn't matter to Gabe. If a seagull so much as pooped on his paint job, he'd find a way to blame me. Watching him lumber back towards the apartment building, I got so mad I did something I can't explain. I made a hand. As Gabe reached the doorway, I made a hand gesture. I'd seen Grandma make one of those, sort of warding off evil gestures. I clawed hand over my heart, then showing a movement towards Gabe. The screen door slammed shut so hard and whacked him in the butt, sent him flying up the staircase as he'd been shot from a cannon. Maybe it was the wind, or some freak accident like the hinges, but I didn't stay long enough to find out. I got in the Camaro and told my mom to step on it. Our rental cabin was on the South Shore, way out at the tip of Long Island. It was a little pastel box with faded curtains, half shrunken into dunes. There was always sand in the sheets and spiders in the cabinets. Most of the time the sea was too cold to swim in. I loved the place. We'd been going there since I was a baby. My mom had been going even longer. She'd never exactly said, but I knew why the beach was special to her. It was the place where she'd met my dad. As we got closer to Montauk, she seemed to grow younger, years of worry and work disappearing from her face. Her eyes turned to the color of the sea. We got there at sunset, opened the cabin windows, and went through our usual cleaning routine. We walked on the beach, fed the blue corn chips to the seagulls, and munched on blue jelly beans, blue saltwater taffy, and all the other free samples my mom had brought from work. I guess I should explain the blue food. See, Gabe had once told my mom that there was no such thing. They had a little fight about it, which seemed like a really small thing at the time, but ever since then, my mom went out of her way to eat blue. She baked blue birthday cakes, she mixed blueberry smoothies, she bought blue corn tortilla chips, and brought home blue candy from the shop. This, along with her keeping her maiden name Jackson rather than calling herself Mrs. Ugliano, was proof that she wasn't totally suckered by Gabe. She did have a rebellious streak like me. When it got dark, we made a fire. We roasted hot dogs and marshmallows. My mom told me secret stories about when she was a kid, back before her parents died in the plane crash. She told me about the books she'd wanted to write someday when she had enough money to quit the candy shop. Eventually, I got the nerve to ask her what was always on my mind ever since we came back to Montauk. My father. Mom's eyes went all misty. I figured she'd tell me the same things she'd always did, but I got tired of hearing them. He was kind, Percy, she said. Tall, handsome, and powerful, but gentle too. You have his black hair, you know, and his green eyes. Mom fished a blue jelly bean out of her candy bag. I wish he could see you, Percy. He'd be so proud of you. I wondered how she could say that. What was so great about me? A dyslexic, hyperactive boy with a D+ report card, kicked out of school for the 6th time in 60 years. How old was I asked. When he left. She watched a flame. He was only with me for one summer, Percy, right here at this beach, this cabin. But he knew me as a baby. No, honey. He knew I was expecting a baby, but he never saw you. He had to leave before you were born. I tried to square that with the fact that I'd seemed to remember something about my father. A warm glow, a smile. I had always assumed he knew me as a baby. My mother had never said it outright, but still, I'd felt it must be true. Now, to be told that he'd never seen me, I felt angry at my father. Maybe it was stupid, but I resented him for going onto the ocean voyage, for not having the guts to marry my mom. He'd left us, and now we were stuck with Smelly Gay. Are you going to send me away again? I asked her, to another boarding school. She pulled a marshmallow from the fire. I don't know, honey. Her voice was heavy. I think we'll have to do something about it. But you don't want me around? I regretted the words as soon as they come out. My mom's eyes welled with tears. She took my hand and squeezed it tight. No, Percy, no. I have to, honey. For your own good, I have to send you away. Her words reminded her of what Mr. Bruner said, that it was best for me to leave Yancey, because I'm not normal, I said. You say that if it's a bad thing, Percy. You don't realize how important you are. I thought Yancey Academy would be far enough away. I thought you'd finally be safe. Safe from what? She met my eyes, and a flood of memories came back to me, all the weird, scary things that have ever happened to me, and some which I forgot about. During the 3rd grade, a man in a black trench coat had stalked me on the playground. When the teachers threatened to call the police, he went away growling, but no one believed me when I told him that under his broad-brimmed hat, the man only had one eye, right in the middle of his head. Before that, a really early memory. I was in preschool and a teacher accidentally put me down for a nap in a cot that had a snake slithered into it. My mom screamed when she came to pick me up and found me playing with a limp, scaly rope I'd somehow managed to strangle to death with my meaty toddler hands. In every single school, something creepy had happened, something unsafe, and I was forced to move. I knew I should tell my mom about the old ladies at the fruit stand and Mrs. Dobbs at the art museum, and about my weird hallucination that I was sliced my math teacher into dust with a sword. But I couldn't make myself tell her. I had a strange feeling that the news would end our trip to Montauk. I tried to keep you as close to me as I could, my mom said, but they told me that it was a mistake. But there's one other option, Percy. The place your father wanted to send you. And I can't stand to do it. My father wanted me to go to a school. Not a school, she said softly, a summer camp. My head was spinning. Why would my dad, who hadn't even stayed around long enough to see me born, talk to my mom about a summer camp? And if it was so important, why hadn't she ever mentioned it before? I'm sorry, Percy. She looked into my eyes. But I can't talk about it. I could have sent you there. I couldn't send you to that place. It meant saying goodbye to you for good. But I can't talk about it. I couldn't send you there to that place. It might mean saying goodbye to you for good, but I thought it was only a summer camp. She turned towards the fire, and I knew her expression as if I asked her any more questions, she would start to cry. That night, I had a vivid dream. There was a storm on the beach. Two beautiful animals, a white horse and a golden eagle, were trying to kill each other at the edge of the surf. The eagle swooped down and slashed the horse's muzzle with its talons. The horse reared up and kicked the eagle's wings. As they fought, the ground rumbled and monstrous voice chuckled somewhere beneath the earth, goading the animals to fight harder. I ran towards them, knowing I had to stop them from killing each other, but I was running in slow motion. I knew I would be too late. I saw the eagle dive down, its beak aimed at the horses, wide-eyed, and I screamed, "No!" I woke outside, it was really storming. The kind of storm that would crack trees, blow down houses. There were no horse or eagle on the beach, just lightning making false daylight and 20-foot waves pounding on the dunes like artillery. With the next thunderclap, my mom woke. She sat up wide eyes and she said, "Hurricane." I knew that it was crazy. Long Island has never seen hurricanes this early in the summer, but the ocean seemed to have forgotten. Over the roar of the wind, I heard a distant bellow, an angry, tortured sound that made my hair stand on end. Then a much closer noise, like mallets in the sand, a desperate voice, someone yelling, pounding on her cabin door. My mother sprang out of bed in her nightgown and opened the door. Grover stood at the frame of the doorway against the backdrop of pouring rain, but he wasn't exactly Grover. Searching all night, he gasped, what were you thinking? My mother looked at me in terror, not scared of Grover, but of why he had come. "Percy," she shouted, to be heard over the rain. "What happened at school? Why didn't you tell me?" I was frozen, looking at Grover. I couldn't understand what I was seeing. "Oh, Zukukai, Aloy, Theo," he yelled. "It's right behind me. Didn't you tell her?" I was too shocked to register that he just cursed in ancient Greek, and I'd understood him perfectly. I was too shocked to wonder how Grover had forgotten himself here in the middle of the night, because Grover didn't have pants on, but his legs, and where his legs should be. My mom looked at me sternly and talked to me in a tone that she'd never used before. "Percy, tell me now." I'd stammered something about old ladies at the fruit stand and Miss Dobbs, and my mom stared at me, her face deathly pale in the flashes of lightning. She grabbed her purse, tossed me my rain jacket, and said, "Get to the car. Both of you, go." Grover ran for the Camaro, but he wasn't running exactly. He was trotting.